Welcome to Now Be You podcast. This is a space for women who lead, create, and carry responsibility, and who want to stay grounded, clear, and true to themselves while doing it. I'm Leonora and Tanya, a mentor in embodied leadership and personal transformation. And in these conversations, we go beyond achievements and titles to explore the real turning points, doubts, and choices that guide us back to who we truly are. I continue these conversations in Now Be You Substack, where I share reflections and guided practices to help you slow down, think clearly, and reconnect with yourself. Today, I'm in conversation with Tanya Kazeminy, entrepreneur who sold her business and then, in her own words, life pushed her off a cliff. She teaches love, self-relationship, and the intersection of spirituality and sexuality. Today, we are talking about what it takes truly to return to yourself and why that return often becomes possible after something breaks. So welcome, Tanya. So wonderful to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
And to recognize in each other our journey's path and some remembrance, what we are bringing in through our lives to other women. So I wanted to ask you, what does being yourself mean to you today compared to you being 10 years ago?
I think that the thing that I like the most is being so honest, I scare myself. So this kind of commitment to being so radically honest that I frighten myself. And that honesty becomes authenticity, it becomes vulnerability, it becomes unpatterned thinking, it becomes like if somebody asks me a question, I try not to give the same answer twice. Just keeping surprising myself and that kind of raw honesty and seeing how that lands.
Versus how you were.
Oh, just quiet, pleasing,
trying to
adapt. Trying to keep the peace, trying to make everything work, like not wanting to rock the boat, just trying to stay afloat. Trying to stay afloat.
And this is where we're going to dive today, I do believe so. And many of the listeners who are women and busy women, and they are trying to hold so many corners in their lives. And so many times when we really redirect from our centers and who we truly are. And I know your story is truly empowering and really inspiring. So going back to the story of a cliff.
The cliff.
What was that cliff?
The cliff was when I was finally given permission to leave my marriage.
Oh.
When I was finally given permission by the extremity of the circumstances, because I was so committed to staying married. My parents are still married.
Why is that?
I bought the fairy tale, happily ever after. Like, I watched way too many Disney films, like so many of us do. And like this thing about marriage is like, it's forever, you work at it, and then it was just...
Do you believe in marriage today?
Ooh. I fundamentally believe in committed relationship and whatever that looks like for you, but I also really believe in divorce and I believe in splitting up. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the combination. I believe in marriage as a beautiful enactment of love, but I don't believe in forever anymore.
What I believe, talking about this relationships, I truly believe in truth for yourself, whatever it means. And whatever it takes you to the truth, sometimes it takes us to divorce, sometimes it takes us to transform our relationship again and again and again. And it's all about the momentum and about that truth to yourself. So let's go deeper in the truth to ourselves. About your business. Incredible. You built a 12 million business and sold it. And that identity that's left away from your life, how did you feel? How did it felt in your body, in your life, the momentum you step away from your business?
Oof. Well, I stepped away from it twice. The first time was like about 2 years before we sold it. I stepped out of the day-to-day running of the business, and bearing in mind that the business was like a creation of me and 3 of my best friends. So we were 4 women that ran a skincare business, which was primarily focused on pregnancy. And it was just this really beautiful feminine business, like where I don't know, the way that we ran it, it was radical, it was beautiful. But I realized that it was time for me to step away from it. And so 2 years before we sold the business, I'd stepped out of the business, which was like another, almost like another divorce, like the heartbreak of leaving that and saying this isn't right for me anymore.
Yes.
And then thankfully, I think 2 years, 18 months later, we sold the business, which was always our intention. But again, this feeling of what was it like to sell the business? Because, we'd built the business with the pure intention of selling it. But when it actually came time to sell it, it was like we're like, okay, here's the baby. Like we're handing over the baby. And there was a bunch of guys from Manchester that bought this really deeply feminine business. And we're like, here's the baby. And they're just like, baby, whack, 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 whack. And we're like, ah! It was crazy to watch. It was a crazy experience.
How did it feel for you? Like you are this mother who's giving a baby away.
It was horrible. It was horrible. It was really painful. I mean, I really like.
Is your baby alive?
Yeah, the baby's alive.
Oh,
the baby's alive and kicking. But really, but we've been completely removed from the story, which is all really interesting. But the baby's alive. Yeah, the baby's alive. The baby's doing well.
I'm happy to hear that.
Me too. Me too. I'm so happy the baby's
feminine
still alive.
Business survived in the masculine hands. That's wonderful. That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So your life, you mentioning, I see already double divorce. Yeah, business, relationship.
Right, in like 3 years.
Yeah, and I'm hearing your story is like really took you somewhere else. And that journey, I do believe, you spent some time, some years, completely lost to yourself. Yeah, like searching for yourself. So how did this journey look like, and what really brought you to yourself?
I feel that there was a point in this kind of in the splitting, in the returning to my own independence. I think I'd rather phrase rather than like the post-divorce. Like as I was returning to my own independence, the recognition that like nothing is forever except for my relationship with myself. Like the only thing that's forever is me. From birth till death. I am the one that I will never part from. And I got very focused on how do I get good with myself? Like how do I create a great relationship with myself? Because it was not a good relationship with myself.
How would you describe a woman with not a good relationship to herself?
I feel that I constantly put everybody else in front of me. I tell you what it was. Specifically, I had lost my connection to my intuition. I had no connection to my intuition. I had no faith in my own voice. I had no faith. Like I might hear something or feel a direction, but I didn't take it. I didn't give it any worth. So this voice that lives inside of me, like I had ignored it for so long I couldn't even hear it anymore.
So this is. Would you say that it's very typical for a woman who loses herself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think fundamentally, like, if we're connected to our inner voice, if we're connected to our intuition, if we cultivate that relationship with ourselves, I just don't think we can go wrong.
Yeah.
Because if I'm being guided by my inner navigational system, which is so pure, so loving, so on point for me, I'm not going to go wrong. It's like one of the things that I really love. I know about my sons, that they're connected to their inner voice. And I'm like, you guys are going to be fine. If I'm around or I'm not around, I know that you're going to be fine. And I think that for everyone. And I think that that's really like the big wound in the feminine, as I perceive it, is our disconnection from our womb space, from our sexuality. You know, like we've been severed from this dimension of our body.
Yes.
Like this dimension we don't have sensation for, or language for, or, communication with, or value. It's been so converted into something which is
Absolutely.
Just a masculine depository.
So how do you describe self-love to a woman who finds the concept either too soft or too far from where she is right now? What is self-love?
I would have a hard time describing it to her, but I would want to inspire her in saying that I really genuinely believe that the most important thing we can learn in our whole entire life is how to love ourselves. Yeah. Because how much I love me is how much love I can receive from anyone else.
Indeed.
So if I love myself that much full, if I love myself half a glass full and I meet someone who loves me a whole glass full, when I'm feeling good, I love the whole glass full. Yay, I'm whole glass full. But as soon as I'm feeling insecure, I doubt this. And I'm going to self-sabotage around this half glass that they love me for, but I don't believe it about myself. So this thing, and it's not just like the idea of lovers or partners, it's my children, it's my family, it's you, it's anyone I encounter. I only believe in love that much. So I want to inspire her in the importance of it, like the fundamental importance of it. And then how does it begin? I think I believe that the most damaging expression we have as women towards ourselves is our perfectionism. So I believe that it's something about starting to address where perfectionism lives inside of you, and giving yourself some kind of a little like sound alarm going off where you know, oh, I'm really in the perfectionist space right now. Can I step back off of that, like just take my foot off the gas like 5 kilometers per hour. Just slow that down. So it's like little by little by little, you're taking your foot off of that pedal, which is driving you consistently towards perfection, and which is nowhere. You're never going to get there. And that perfectionism, I think, is just so incredibly damaging to us.
It is such a pressure, and it's a very beautiful point what you are mentioning. Just to recognize, if women who are listening right now and hearing this, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm really too perfectionist. Yeah, maybe I'm really too tough on myself and others. Like hearing from my own clients, also so many times they say, you know what? When I find the right man, I will be happy. That's it. My life is definitely gonna change. But that happy man, first of all, you have to become that happy woman to align to that, and that loving woman, not from the outside, but deeply, deeply inside of yourself. So whatever we are willing for something external, definitely the whole transformation has to happen internal. And this is what you are talking about in your work. And I see also, I'm very curious about your book. The book you wrote is called GASP, yeah? And it's all about erotica, and not all about, it's erotica and surrounded in the depth of self-love and, you know, so much knowledge about it. So how did you write this book? Did you plan? How did it happen? And what was all about?
I've always loved erotica, and I've always enjoyed writing erotica. But I would never in a million years have published a book of erotica. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And the book, it arrived in one of those, I recognize these things as universal assignments. And I'm sure that a lot of the women that are listening who are leaders and like in their own businesses, they know this feeling where you get almost like taken over, like you almost fall in love with this idea, and you spend however long like playing with this idea. Like, you lay out the whole marketing strategy, you've got the branding, you've got the build, this is how I do it, this is like, you do the whole thing, the construction, and the book came in like that. And it was like this, I'm going to do this book. And then so for 2 weeks I played with the idea, and then I had like clarity. I was like, dude, you're a mother of 2 sons. You're from a very conservative family. You're not going to write a book of erotica. Like, I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Your mind was saying that, the logic.
Absolutely. Like, and I get it. I wasn't ready for the book. It's so interesting, these things. Like, I would have thought that was a bit of a failure for a while. Like, oh, I had the idea, I didn't do it. Why does it take me so long to do things? That kind of thinking. And now I look back and I'm like, I wasn't ready for the book. But when I finally said, okay, I'm going to write the book, because the book was just bugging me, and like irritating me, like it's like, So when I finally said, okay, I take the assignment, within a year, the book was at the printing press. And the book was like this really beautiful collaboration of like, it's 20 different writers. And
Oh, wow.
all of the writers are anonymous. Almost all the writers are anonymous. So you don't know whether you're reading a man. You don't know if you're reading a woman. You don't know what age the person is. You don't know whether they're married, they're straight, they're single, they're bi, they're open relationship. Like, it was just this whole, it was a beautiful catalog of sexual experiences that were so powerful that they were like tattooed on your soul. That was the brief to everybody. Because I feel that there's so, I just entered the dating world. I was out on my own. I was, experimenting with myself and my own love life. And where was my sexuality after this, a lot of betrayal, like where was I in all of this? And I just recognized that there was like not enough connection in sexual experiences, like the way that people were connecting with each other, there was zero. And I felt like I really wanted the book to be an invitation into connection and possibly like a bridge from people who were addicted to porn into something else and into like the mental fantasy of erotica. And I felt like primarily I wanted the book to create more love in the world because people were making more love. And that was the purpose of the book. It was really pure, super
so beautiful.
pure.
And this, let's say, sexuality, where you drive and guide women and men, of course, but we're talking now about specifically about women who are really busy, and they are running their businesses, homes, children, families. And so many times we face that moment where, women might not feel connected to any sexuality. How would you shortly guide them, and what would you recommend them as a practice, as a momentum to reconnect with their sexuality?
I think again, I want to, it's a big subject. The question for me, I think it's like the forgiveness of yourself, the recognition that life is cyclical. There's times in your life where you are, you're in the crazy, can't stop, need this all the time phase. And then there's times where that's just not the priority for you right now because you've got so much going on in your life. I believe that it's important for us to take ownership of that. And I'm a big advocate for self-practicing. Whether you're in relationship or you're not in relationship, I'm a huge advocate for self-practice, self-pleasuring practices. And I view it like almost in the same space as meditation. Because it's in that realm where you can truly explore who you are without the distraction or the chaos or the energy or the flow or the disruption, the beautiful disruption of someone else in your field. So to have a self-pleasure practice, I think is very important, because when you talk about the women, when a man arrives, everything's going to be great, everything's going to be great. And I know women who are like, oh, it's fine that I don't have any libido right now because I don't have a man, and when he comes...
Yes, exactly.
And you're like, no, this is life force.
Yeah.
This isn't just something to be shunned. This is where we grow from. This is where creativity lives. This is the spark of eros which moves us through our life, and it's valuable.
And we don't have to be dependent on somebody else in order to have this feeling.
Cultivate it, value it and cultivate it,
And it is so powerful once we really become creators of that cultivation and not being dependent on the outside world. This is really powerful. And that's what it takes me to a question of the moments of menopause, this great word that is right now becoming super let's say, heard every day, and women hearing it, and some of us, we already know how to deal, some of the women don't, and you are an expert in this. So menopause for you is a great momentum to create life as the better second half, as you mentioned. Why and how? When all these hormones starts to mess up with you, and all this reality starts to challenge a woman, why is a greater place to start your life better?
I feel like the simplest explanation of it is that I think menopause tracks really closely with puberty. Like it's kind of like an 8-year hormonal eruption. And it also tracks really, like pregnancy is another one where you have this massive hormonal transitions. So if you look at just in the simplest terms, if you remember what it was like to go through puberty, or you have the anyone who's going through it, like I watched a lot my kids and their friends, and like that transition, it's about 8 years. And then, but they have the excitement of coming out into young adulthood, which everybody wants to get to. So there's a different frame around it. But when we go into menopause, similarly, our body is just like, it's having its own little jam session. Nobody knows, like it's jazz, like it's suddenly off and like free form jazz. And you're like, wait a second, we've lost the beat. But we don't want to get where we're going, because we've been told in every story, in every image we've ever seen, we've never heard menopause is a good thing. We've never heard that that life on the other side is anything other than, like, if you're lucky, you get to knit and be a granny and bake apple pies or whatever. And you're like, that's not the life I foresaw for myself. And so to reframe that, to recognize that that's a bad, sad, wrong story we've been told. But we've been told it so deeply that we all believe it. Even from little, we believed it. And I just want women to understand that it's freaking epic. Like, the ride sucks. Like, the ride is hard. The ride is absolutely hard. But if you have a different frame going into that ride, and a lot of information, and you have community, and you have guidance, and you have support, and you have connection to your body, like, you've learned how to listen to your body, and you've learned how to, like, what are the tools and levers that I have in my toolbox that I can apply to all these situations. So you go into it like prepared, and it's going to end, and the other side is awesome. It's going to be a completely different experience. And
how would you describe the other side?
Oh, the other side. The other side is, listen, I don't want to sit here and tell this, like, everything is glorious and it's 100% roses, because that's not true. And in every single day is an up and down. There's days where I know who I am. There's days where I don't know who I am. There's moments where I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And there's moments where I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? Yeah, exactly. Like, this is my life. I'm like, this is my life. So it's not a tale of perfection, but the other side for me was the recognition, like, I touched into the sensation of limitless possibility. And that's what I really want to share. Like, I am the author of my story. Like, this chapter, this is not a chapter of my life, it's a new book. And I get to write my character development,
Yes, and I remember when we recognized each other in the conversation we had about women who had this sexual powers in the ancient wisdom. And they had this abilities to actually go out there, use their inner healing, support their ancient older women, the children that would not be raped when all these soldiers would come and rape all the villages and so on. And they were called like wisdom keepers or prostitutes, but at that time was a very complimentary, like a great compliment to be a prostitute and keep this wisdom as a conscious sexuality. And what you mentioned at that moment when we were sharing the story, that was menopausal women, because they were so strong in their wisdom, they so embodied in everything they can use as a power. As before menopause, women are busy to raise children, raise families, be mothers. Yeah, and menopausal woman, she's coming into this another quality of embodied embodied knowledge, yeah? And this is what I really, really liked, actually, and I loved the way you showed that the other side actually can be, if we really embody it, it can be superpower.
Superpower, super desirable, like that yeah, we were discussing that in that idea that the menopausal woman, because you've got all your wisdom, you've got your compassion, you've lived your life, you hold all this information, and you have this fierce love, but you also have this softness to you, and you can't get pregnant.
Here we go.
You can't get pregnant. So it is this like, and those women were like the ones that were doing the sexual healing.
Yes.
And that there was the notion that there was like, we were talking about ancient, like within temple,
yes,
that people would come to temple to be healed, and they were the women that were like.
They were the women that were holding space and clear,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
doing the healing.
And I think that's still, I don't know, for me, in our second half, I truly believe we enter our sexual prime. And I know that that's a wild and radical thing. And it's not to say that there aren't the moments of ups and downs, but I believe that it's like we're plugging into a different energy for where we're drawing our eros from, and our permissioning to ourselves on how much pleasure we're allowing ourselves. Mm-hmm. And what does pleasure look like? You know, it's like it's back to this thing for me, the experience of perimenopause, like, which is the long menopause is a single day.
Yes.
So menopause is, exactly 1 year after your last bleed. That's menopause. Before it's peri, after it's post.
Okay.
The whole thing needs a rebrand. We need a new name for the whole situation.
So let's talk about the toolkit for women. Okay, so first of all, let's recognize the premenopause symptoms. How women listening to us right now in this conversation can recognize someone maybe lacking even information and maybe blaming herself for not feeling well, for not being clear in her head. So what are the symptoms? And then we are going in the tools.
There is a crazy lot of symptoms, but usually the first place that women notice, there's two places. They usually notice it in their sleep. Mm-hmm. It's like their sleep becomes a little bit more challenging, and there's like a little bit more disruption in their sleep. And that's usually the first place. And the second place is that periods just become a little bit strange. Mm-hmm. Like maybe like you always have it on clockwork, and then it's 5 days late, 7 days late, a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, just a little bit odd. And then there's that is the recognition, like, oh, something's beginning. But instead of feeling like, oh God, something's beginning, if we can be like, oh good, something's beginning, wow. And if we can like reframe just that thought. Yeah. Just like I want to get really curious about this.
Exactly. And I'm hearing curiosity, it's like, what shall I do now?
Yeah.
What shall I do now?
Yeah. Like, and what's the next step? And then I think that the next step is to really, you're monitoring it, and you're starting to take in information, right? Mm-hmm. So, you might start to listen to a little bit more podcasts about it. Mm-hmm. You just might start to take in information. What I feel like I'm sure we'll get to it, that I've done this program called Wisdom Women, which is an online coaching program for women in perimenopause through menopause. But what I really, I think the frame, like I keep talking about the frame, like the structure inside which it's viewed, because a lot of the things that I hear, there's just a lot of fear around it, and a lot of negativity, and that's woven so deep into ourselves that even the information that's coming through, like so often, because I listen and study a lot, I'm still hearing this like old dusty story coming through, even with new information, and I don't know.
What is the dusty story? How would you recognize or describe it?
It has this kind of this feeling of tiredness around it, or this like it's like I guess I would describe it, and this is hard let me try. Let me surprise myself with my honesty. It's like it's pushing against something else. Like the story is like it's in contrast to something else. Like when you were young, you were like this, or men have done this, or it's got this like rather than this just complete wellspring of originality, which I think this is.
It's almost competing with your own self.
Yes.
And the other side is accepting and being compassionate and allowance to your own self.
Yes, because I believe that this whole perimenopausal transition, it's like a portal. And in a lot of ways, I feel like it's a bonfire. Like it's just a big, fat fire. And it's like, burn what doesn't serve you. Throw it in the fire. Like the stories that keep you small, the things that you believe that you don't actually believe, like the constraints that you have about who you are and how you are, throw it in the fire.
Women is official permission for you to go for it.
Burn it, burn it. And if you, but it's a fierce teacher. So if you're not burning it, the fire is going to get bigger because the fire wants you to burn it. Because I think that I believe that this transition is about us becoming our biggest.
Yes.
And this teacher, the universe, the goddess, yourself, whatever you want to frame as this energy force which is driving you into this new evolution of who you are, wants you to be the biggest. Wants you to have your voice, wants you to take leadership, wants you to be in positions of governance, wants you to have this compassionate perspective. You know, I want women to be, you know, stepping into spaces of leadership because God knows the leaders of today are doing a terrible job. And if women had their voices, like ultimately for me, that's what Wisdom Women is about. Like I want women to recognize the beauty of this transition and be tremendously excited for themselves and who they're going to be. I want to do this Wisdom Women process because I want the women who come after us to be like, I can't wait to be on that side of the world. Like, I can't wait to be in that new story. And ultimately, I want Wisdom Women to be in positions of leadership. I want to bring back this idea of like the elders council, which is like
and that's kind of this is what you are awakening in your work, and I'm seeing also in the work we are doing with Now Be You women retreats and work transformation. Anybody who is really aware of what's happening and what power we hold inside of us, we all awaken each other to that commitment and responsibility to be aware, to own our power and actually act in the world so that it would be a better place to live for the future, but also here and now. So that Wisdom Women, this is what I'm hearing and understanding. It's really a great guide for women to find that force within themselves and really be responsible for who they are and for the world at large.
Yeah, to be motivated and inspired, and also to hold the responsibility of it, you know, like,
yes,
because we're the first generation really who primarily were safe.
Yeah,
it's safe to be everything. Like, this is really one of the first generations where it's genuinely mostly safe. And those of us who are so fortunate to live inside of the safety of that, like, I feel it as a responsibility to rise.
Yes.
Because we're needed. We're needed. Our voices are needed. They're required, you know?
And thank you so much for doing this work. It's really, really important and powerful. And as I also tell to myself sometimes when I'm questioning, why do I do what I do? And I remember that first woman who awakened inside of me that femininity and that power, that it's so natural, and to allow for myself to be myself, like I'm hearing from you, this acceptance and allowance, it really gave me such a gift that I cannot only keep for myself. I have to keep on moving and sharing it. And this I recognize in each and every woman who's awakening and who's awakened and doing her work. It's a responsibility. So by doing what you're doing, it's a great action of your responsibility. So thank you once again. And I want to, before we close, I'd like to end with a small reflection. So Tanya, if there is one thing you would want a woman listening today to remember, what would it be?
I would like, can I give a practice?
Oh yeah, that would
Okay,
be.
so I would like that in the moments wherever it comes to you, wherever you have a moment where you say, you ask yourself, can I love myself in this exact moment? Like, can I love myself exactly as I am right now? And the answer might be no, but to just continually ask the question, and there's the question of, can I love myself exactly as I am right now? And then just like the softening of your body. And that, the marriage of that question and the softening will be an unfolding. Maybe not in that moment, but even in that moment, even if you hear no, like that's information. No, interesting, why not? Mm-hmm. But the softening and that question, I think is like the marriage of like, that's a gateway into self-love.
Beautiful. I believe this practice will be integrated for many women in their lives and would be growing and expanding in them in many very different ways. Mm-hmm. And for me, closing this beautiful conversation, I'm taking the phrase that you are sharing, that my deepest hope is that we recognize and grasp the opportunity to rewire our second half as the best half. Thank you. And I hope we're going to continue our conversations in many ways.
Me too. I know we are. I know we are. That was beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And also, thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I see how hard you work. I see how much you're juggling. I see your commitment to growth for everybody. I see the purity of your intention. And I see that you don't have to be doing this. You do it because you have to, rather than circumstances driving you to. And that's like super beautiful. So I really honor you.
Thank you.
Much love.
And question to you, dear listeners, what are you taking from this conversation? Please share your thoughts in the comments. If this conversation resonated, I share deeper reflections and guided audio practices in Now Be You Substack, a space to slow down, think clearly, and reconnect with yourself in the middle of a full life. Few times a year, we bring this work into real life through carefully curated retreats, where leading women step away from the noise, reflect, and return with clarity and renewed direction. Subscribe to Now Be You Substack and find out more. Until next time, stay yourself.